Never Twitter.
I'm going to call the meeting of the Board of Governors to order. Ms. Gilmer, can you take the roll, please? Present. Present.
Present.
Present.
Connie Conway. Here. Thomas Epstein.
Here.
Cecilia Estolano.
Present.
Danny Hopkins.
Good afternoon.
Son Hunt. Present. Deborah Malamet.
Present.
Jennifer Perry. Present. Mary Reed.
Here.
Valerie Shaw. Here. Nancy Sumner.
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum present. Member Campbell, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, thank you, and it's great to be able to christen our new boardroom here, and so our thanks to all the staff and contractors and others who built this wonderful new space. I'm sure we'll hear a little bit more about it during the Chancellor's report. One tip that I just noticed is that for board members, you'll see there's a button on your microphone, and so you have to hit it in order to speak and be amplified, and then you can hit it to mute your microphone. Happy New Year to the board, and Happy New Year to the members of the public who are here with us and the various stakeholders for the system. I wanted to extend a personal note of thanks and appreciation to my colleagues on the board and the Chancellor's office staff for their messages of condolence for the personal losses that I suffered around the holidays, and I appreciate all the outreach and the comforting words that were shared with me. Thank you very much for that. Since the last board meeting, most of the time that I've spent with respect to community college business has been working arm in arm with Vice President Estolano in getting everything lined up for the Chancellor's search, and we'll be devoting a lot of our time tomorrow on the Chancellor's office search. And you'll hear more in detail, but briefly, Vice President Estolano and I convened a committee to select a search consultant to assist the board in its search for a new chancellor, and we are pleased to have retained the Association of Community College Trustees and their lead consultant, Dr. Narcissa Polonio, to help us. We've also just returned from the Capitol, where Vice President Estolano and I briefed the governor's team on the status of the search and our process so that they are fully informed as to all the steps we're taking to have a successful, transparent, and very productive search to find the next leader for the system. We have a full agenda, so I will leave my president's report at that, and we will go into more detail on the search tomorrow, but thanks all. Chancellor?
Thank you, President Baum, members of the board. I do want to welcome all of you, including our guests, to the new chambers for the Board of Governors. I want to express my sincere appreciation to a lot of people, a couple of whom I will name in a moment, but I want all of you to know that the vast majority of what you see around you is California made and supplied. Obviously, some of the technology comes from across the pond, as they say, but most of all of the furniture and the casework was all done by California employees, including all these chairs have been provided by a company called Exemplis, which is a Southern California company that built all these chairs. And then, of course, the casework, the design was all done by Californians. So it is a great example of the work of the folks that many of whom come through our community colleges to get their training. I do want to thank a group of individuals who worked very hard, not only on the boardroom, but on the move to the 6th floor for for the system. I hope all of you, when you stepped off the elevator today, saw the Wall of Fame, which includes the logos of all 113 of our colleges. Let me reassure you that because we intend to add more colleges in the future, those are movable, and even if the colleges change their logo, we can simply pull it off and replace it. So it's not drilled to the wall. It is designed for expansion and improvement over time. In addition to that, I'm sure you saw the photographs of the Board of Governors, and obviously this is a significant system of higher education, not only in California but in America. And we believe these chambers are in no way ostentatious, but are certainly fitting of the Board of Governors of California's community colleges, whose photographs you saw outside in the lobby. I do want to thank Paul Feast, Lynn Chervinka, Karen Gilmer, Jacob Schutler, Brian Merlot, Jubilee Smallwood, Paige Marlett-Dorr, and Eric Skinner on our staff for their long dedication and hard work. Any project like this is difficult to make a reality, and they labored long and hard to do that. And I also want to thank Keitha Mills, Joseph Quintana, Brian Miller, and the Board of Directors of the Foundation for California's Community Colleges, because they helped underwrite the cost associated, the incremental costs associated with this space and the lobby. Obviously, we utilized the state resources as much as we could, but in some cases we had to encumber expenses that would not normally be covered by the state of California. And thanks to Keitha and the foundation board and her team, we were able to make these surroundings what all of us had hoped it would be. I would underscore what President Baum said to you. You push these buttons to access your microphones. You don't have to turn them off. In fact, all of them can be on at once, but if you're like all of us in a public meeting like this, just remember, if it is green, it is being recorded, so you may want to turn it off if you don't need it. I also would ask the support of the audience and guests. We are, in order to keep these chambers in the shape they are today, we are going to ask that no food or drink be brought into the chambers. The board, of course, is stuck at the board table. They can't just get up and wander into the lobby, so the board certainly will have coffee and water and an occasional snack at the board table. But if the rest of you would help us, we want to keep this space as nice as we can for as long as we can. I want to thank two of our colleagues with us today. First, I want to thank Alice Van Omerman, who has served as interim vice chancellor for technology, research, and information systems over the last many months. Alice stepped up, frankly, above and beyond the call and took this role on. She has stepped out of the interim role as we're about, hopefully, to fill that job in the next few weeks, but please join me in thanking Alice for her service. I also want to thank and acknowledge the service of our Vice Chancellor for Student Services, Denise Nolden, who's been on loan from one of our partner districts over the last many months, and her term as Vice Chancellor, Interim Vice Chancellor of Student Services will end at the end of the month. And we are obviously close to filling that slot. However, Denise nor Alice can be replaced. They can certainly be backfilled, but I want to express my appreciation to Denise. She came in at a very critical time in the organization, in that we had a number of student success initiatives, equity issues that really were at a level of maturity that required leadership. Denise stepped up and provided that for us, so please join me in thanking Denise for her service. And you may recall that back in September, when we had to relocate our meeting to another room on this floor, we had some technological challenges. So I wanted to show you this video then, but perhaps it was serendipitous that we show it to you today, because this particular video will be the first run in this technology, and please join me in watching this video on one of our colleges. It's just not fair this happened to me twice in a row.
Just think of it as a silent film.
The cinematography is gorgeous.
Yeah.
All right, well, we're flexible if nothing else. We'll move on to the agenda, and perhaps we can,
Okay, we're going to move on to the consent we're going to move on to the consent calendar, with the only item on the consent calendar are the meeting minutes. First, before we make a motion, are there any corrections or additions to the meeting minutes? Member Khan.
Under legislative priorities, item number 2,
Yes.
I believe the nays were incorrectly recorded. It should have been Danny Hawkins rather than Member Joseph.
Belensky. Member Hawkins, Member Belensky, does that, we're on page 6 of the agenda. It's on proposal 2 on the state legislative program. There were 2 noes, Member Campbell and list Member Belensky, but Member Khan recalls that it was Member Hawkins that cast the nay vote. That is correct? Okay, so I'm going to, Ms. Gilmer or Ms. Castro, did you catch that too? And so I have a couple of other things I wanted to include on the minutes. On the election of board officers and the search consultant committee and the Chancellor search committee, I'd like to have the names of those folks listed. So on the election of board officers, it should also reflect that I was reelected president and Vice President Estolano was elected vice president. Item 2.3, the consultant committee of myself and Vice President Estolano should be listed. And then on the Chancellor search committee, I'd like the names of the committee members listed just so that they're in the minutes as well as in the backup documentation, because if anybody was just going through the minutes, I'd like to have that those names reflected. Any objection to those inclusions? Okay, I'll take a motion to approve the minutes as amended. Okay, motion by Member Sumner. Is there a
Second.
Second by Member Hawkins. Any further discussion on the minutes? All those in favor of approving the minutes as amended, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the minutes are passed. Do you want to go back to?
I don't know. Do they have that video? Is it working, or do you know? Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
We'll take a break at some point. And then
Yeah,
come
we'll
back
get
to
it.
Great. We're going back to the item on the approval of contracts and we're going back to the action item, approval of contracts and grants. Chancellor?
Thank you, President Bell, members of the board. This is a standing item, and I'll ask Deputy Chancellor Skinner to present these contracts and grants. Eric?
President Baum, Chancellor Harris, members of the board, this item, as noted, is the contracts and grants item. It is a, in comparison to some of those you've seen, it's not the heaviest load of contracts and grants, but there are some important ones here. There are 12 specific items, and I'd like to highlight a few of them, and then we're available to answer questions on any of them that you'd want to dig into more deeply. The ones I'd like to note are the item 1. It's an exciting step forward in the baccalaureate pilot program. This $750,000 grant will be awarded to a community college district to provide state-level support and technical assistance in relation to that the bachelor's pilot program, and the district that had the winning bid on that was from North Orange Community College District. So that is item 1, a $750,000 grant. In addition, of note are a number of contracts and grants related to apprenticeship programs. So in items 6, 7, 8, and 9 are a number of new grants that will support apprenticeship programs, and this reflects an expansion in funding in the 2015-16 state budget for apprenticeship programs. And so in total, it's a little over $16 million in awards that'll go out. There are 25 awards, and they will significantly expand our apprenticeship programs across our system. So an exciting step forward, and again, that's some of the largest items in this package before you. And lastly, it's much smaller, but it'll be significant, is the item 12, which is the approval of an interjurisdictional exchange with one of our districts to bring a staff member into the Chancellor's office on a temporary basis to assist in the rollout of our basic skills programs. And so obviously the basic skills work is central to the board's agenda in terms of moving student success. And particularly with some of the budget augmentations that were included in this year's budget for bachelor's, for basic skills programs, it creates extra, both a workload and an extra opportunity for the Chancellor's office to have a big impact on our colleges. And so this individual that will be brought on board has specific expertise in basic skills and will add to our ranks in terms of being able to successfully roll out those programs and provide leadership to our colleges as we try to move the needle on student success. So those were the items that I was going to draw attention to. I'd be available for any questions the board might have.
Thank you, Deputy Chancellor Skinner. I open it up for questions from the board, and then see if we can entertain a motion. Member Epstein, then Member Belinsky.
Good morning. I just had a
Member Shaw. Member
What'd you
Belinsky.
say I was?
Yes, sorry. Yes.
Okay. Okay, I just have a quick question you may not be able to answer. I was just curious in terms of number 1, who the second and third proposers were.
And I do not know the answer to that, and
Okay.
our Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs, Pam Walker, may be able to weigh in, or we could provide that information to you later. But I'm just not.
You can provide
not
it to
aware.
me later.
Okay, will do.
Thank you.
Member Belinsky.
Just to simply acknowledge the third grant to the Umoja community because of the quality of the work that's been done through that program throughout the state in helping underrepresented students get a college education. And I'd just like to call that out and acknowledge that, the good work that they've been doing.
Thank you. Vice President Estolano.
A question for Vice Chancellor Tonquinlivan. On the apprenticeship program number 6, could you provide some examples of some of the innovative apprenticeships? I think the brief description how in California we really only have construction trades, but what are some of the innovative apprenticeships, the fields that have been included in these grant awards?
Thank you, Member
Thank you, Member Estelano. We have a range from food safety to advanced manufacturing to healthcare to small business to childcare to information communications technology to life sciences to distribution warehousing, retail hospitality, quality assurance testing. So quite a range. And we really called out for creating apprenticeship program that feed into some of the priority emerging sectors in order to make sure that our communities can access these careers.
Great, thank you. I just wanted the rest of the board to have a sense of the breadth of that. Usually people think of apprenticeships really just construction and maybe some old-style iron worker kind of thing. So it really shows how this program can be adapted for new technologies and new economy. Thank you.
Can I also follow up with that question?
Yes, sir.
So on page 17, number 7, when you look at page 18, there's some school districts, Martinez Unified, Pasadena Unified. Can you tell me a little more about that? I mean, it seems like we're involving high school as well. Is that why we're partnering with school districts?
Yes, for this particular program, it was to cast the net widely, and especially in the pre-apprenticeship area, the concept was how do we make sure that we broaden the pipeline to ensure our diverse communities can be ready and competitive for these apprenticeship programs. So, for example, the Martinez Unified School District, their focus is working with the tradeswomen organization as well as the energy sector. With the Pasadena Unified School District, their focus is on pre-apprenticeship programs in construction and healthcare. And in San Juan Unified School District, their focus is going to be working with the developmental disabled community in pre-apprenticeship programs. So we're casting the net wide to ensure that these communities know and are aware of the potential of apprenticeship programs and be ready for these.
I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the contracts as presented. Motion by Member Reed, second.
I'd be happy to second.
A second by Member Malumed. Any other further discussion or questions among the board members? Okay, all those in favor of approving the contracts as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Since we're getting used to the acoustics of this new boardroom, I've also picked up that sometimes it is people speak a little softly, so it's helpful if you speak close to the microphone. But I'd also welcome the house audio being brought up a little bit as well, too. So, and you guys let us know in the audience if you can hear us, or if we're blasting you as well. All part of the fine tuning of the space. We'll move on to item 2.2. It's the Board of Governors campus visit for 2016. Deputy Chancellor, Chancellor.
Thank you, President Baum, members of the board. Eric is going to give you an update on location for your on-the-road meeting next year, and also a change that many of you requested as a result of our meeting and the League's annual conference falling in the same week. Eric?
Yes, so with this item is the selection of a site for the campus board meeting. As Chancellor Harris pointed out, several board members had placed a request that the campus-based visit occur in September as opposed to the November meeting, and so the agenda item reflects that desire. In addition, historically, the board will rotate between Northern California and Southern California on these visits, and so it's time for the Northern California visit, and there was a dialogue between the Chancellor and board leadership, and we scoured some options in Northern California, and the recommendation coming back to the board is to have the meeting in the Yuba Community College District, specifically at Woodland Community College. And we spoke with Chancellor Doug Houston, and he invites the board to have the September 2016 board meeting at Woodland Community College District. So that's the item before you. It's travel-wise, it's easy to get to. It's a great campus, and they have strong transfer relationships with UC Davis And so it has many features I think may be a great place for you to have a board meeting. So that's the item before you.
Any discussion? I'll entertain a motion to schedule the September meeting for the Yuba District. Member Burdick, so moved. And the second, Member Conway, is that? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Well, thank you. And seeing no opposed, noes, the motion carries. I'm glad. We have actually in the past had the September meeting been an off-site meeting as well. So it's alternated between. So I think that is a good option. In the Yuba District, if I recall it, because a former board member, Tana Thomas, I think, was with the Yuba District as well. So I've always wanted to see what her district was like. Moving on to a number of items. Interim Council Nguyen. We've got, or Chancellor, item 2.3 and 2.4 seem similar in nature.
Thank you, President Baumann. We are going to cover items 2.3 and 2.4 together. You will certainly vote on them independently, but they are identical in that they are both the request to change the election system at Santa Clarita Community College District and at the Gavilan Joint Community College District. And I'll turn that over to Vice Chancellor and General Counsel Nguyen Nguyen.
Yes, thank you, Chancellor. Indeed, those two items are similar, and they're also very similar to the Glendale one that you had voted for at Mount SAC at the last board meeting. The Chancellor of Santa Clarita, Dr. Diane Van Hook, and her staff are here. The other district, Gavilan College, unfortunately, the Superintendent College President is not here, Steve Kinsella, although he is aware that the item is on the board agenda.
And I would, since we have you here, Dr. Van Hook, I'd love to give you an opportunity to say hello to the board. And
hello, board.
For those of you who haven't met Dr. Van Hook, I think is the longest-serving president in our system right now. Is that correct?
And the youngest when she started.
28 years in the same job.
Yeah. And not only has she had an extraordinary tenure, but it's an extraordinarily successful tenure. You've overseen the transformation of an amazing district, so we appreciate that. And anybody who's driven up the 5 can see the Diane Van Hook Center. And what is that building for as I drive up the 5 that I see off the...
That's our university center. We built that, brought together $44 million in resources to build that, to be able to originally bring in partners, 4-year and graduate school degree partners, to offer the upper division and graduate school coursework as well as all teacher credentials to people in our community who are desirous of obtaining education past their first 2 years without having to leave the valley. Many of our families are 2-parent working families or single-parent families. They really can't take off work at 3 o'clock to get down to Cal State LA or 4 o'clock to get to Cal State Northridge. So we brought the money together. We built a building. We currently have 41 advanced degrees and teaching credentials offered in that building. Several thousand students, about 10,000 students attend different classes every year. So.
Thank you for that. I know it wasn't on the agenda, but having you here gives us an opportunity to showcase one of our successful programs. But and we have a board member question, and then we're going to go to the item about the authorization for the district elections. Member Shaw.
Well, first of all, let me thank you for staying on the job so long. Because so many people come and go 3 years, 5 years, and they're gone. And so, because it takes that sort of a tenacity and long-term view to make things really happen. But what can you share with us? What could you share? What sort of advice would you have for the board or the system in general?
Well, had I known you were going to ask me that question, I wouldn't have watched The Bachelor on television last evening. Come up with some very particular pointed talking points.
Let me help you a little bit, maybe briefly.
Okay. I believe that the community colleges are functioning in an environment that's very different than they were in 1988. Things change every week. As a matter of fact, they usually change about every 48 hours. So I think flexibility in structures and in looking at how we can respond quickly is extremely important. The role of the community college is very different than in 1988, where our role was basic skills, terminal degrees. How exciting was that? You could either be a transfer major or you could declare a terminal degree as your objective, which meant that those classes didn't transfer and you would go on to work. But today, they're interchangeable. At our college, we have 88% of all of our CTE classes transfer to four-year college degrees. And I think being flexible, being able to respond quickly as a system and in individual districts is very, very important. I also think believing in the potential of community colleges, which is something that our representatives and certainly the boards of governors over the years and the chancellors have done. Our past does not dictate our future. We all have immense potential, and if you can imagine it, you can probably do it. But you have to have courage and be creative and innovative and be flexible and be communicative and want to partner with unlikely partners. So I guess my advice to you is to try to be that, to try to create a structure and that lets us do that. You know, it's like Legos. In Southern California, we have the Alman biotech companies, and we brought them to our community. And how do those 300 scientists from countries all over the world, how do they get to where they get? They have tables throughout their hallways of Legos. And when they get an idea, they go out and they put something together and then they take it apart and then they put it together again and they keep, just as children learn, keep trying till they get it. And then they take it to the next level. I think that's our charge, is to not become prisoners of our past image and the structures that we've created.
Well, thank you. And thank you for this. I'm glad we've given that opportunity. The item before us is to authorize the district to go into a voting by district system for their board of trustees as opposed to at large. I will entertain a motion, and then we have a member of the public who would like to address the board on this topic. Is there a motion to approve? Is there a second? A motion by Member Shaw, second by Member Sumner. We do have a comment card from a member of the public.
From Chris Skinnell? Sorry, Chris Skinnell.
Good
who's
afternoon,
right there.
members of the board. I'm special counsel for the district, and I don't really have anything particular to add to the recommendation of general counsel. I just wanted to be here to answer any questions that you might have about our application.
Any further discussion on the proposal? Member Avalos?
Yeah, I just want to get some clarity. So, Vice Chancellor, the question is, when we go to specific districts like we're doing here, what's that mean in terms of diversity? What's that mean in terms of diversity on the trustees? Does it give us a better opportunity to reflect the community that way versus at large? Can you give me some historical perspective on that?
Yeah, the historical perspective is based on the California Voting Rights Act, and it's an effort to move away from at-large districts, and mainly because of the diversity issue. So by colleges moving in this direction with Gavilan, with Santa Clarita, and last time with Glendale, it's an effort to try to find more diversity within the boards.
Any further questions? Okay, we'll entertain a motion on the authorization for the Santa Clarita Community College District. We've got the motion and a second on the table. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Thank you, Dr. Van Hook. Thank you very much. I will entertain a motion on the proposal by the Gavilan District.
Move approval.
Is there a second? Any further discussion? I'll ask the question just for our sake, Chancellor. When these come before us, do we review them at all to say, do we look at the lines, do we look at the data, do we have any, how do we review the process to make sure it's effective?
Absolutely. Our legal division reviews every step that is required under the Voting Rights Act and ensures that all the process are followed before it comes to you as a board. So our presentation of the material is to attest that all those requirements have been met by both college districts.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second on the table. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Thank you very much. We now move on to item 2.5, authorizing independent warrant authority for the Antelope Valley Community College District. Chancellor.
Thank you, President Baum, members of the board. I am going to ask Dan Troy to present this item to you. This is, again, similar to items you've approved in this vein in the past. This one is for Antelope Valley College. Dan?
Yes, thank you, Chancellor Harris, President Baum, members of the board. The item, as Chancellor Harris noted, we had a similar item before this board in September. Essentially, under Education Code, county offices are required to issue the warrants on behalf of community college districts. The statute, however, does provide an exemption process for certain districts that are able to demonstrate that they conduct their business with adequate fiscal controls and with adequate reserves. And so the Antelope Valley Community College District is here today to seek such an exemption. We do note, as provided in Ed Code, they have received an independent audit that has assessed their systems and has recommended approval before you today. County office, the LA County Office of Education concurs with that assessment, as does our office. So we seek approval today for this item. One issue I did want to bring to your attention is note that the Ed Code does require, under normal circumstances, that this be approved prior to January 1st in order to trigger the independence by July 1st. We've worked with the County Office of Education. They've decided that January 19th is close enough, and with their approval today, they're willing to go along with that. With me today is Diana Keelan. Diana is the Executive Director of Business Services and the CBO for the Antelope Valley Community College District. She's here to answer any hard questions you might have. And I also did want to recognize the presence of the great CEO for the district, Mr. Ed Knutson. Welcome. So with that, I ask for your aye vote.
Any questions from the board? Any questions from the board or discussion? Member Belinsky.
I don't have a question, but I want to just point out publicly the fact that in 2014-15, they had a 20% ending fund balance, almost unheard of. 20%, I mean, that's excellent.
Thank you.
Member Epstein.
Ms. Keelan, you have quite a large notebook in front of you. I was just curious if all that paper was necessary just to do this process.
And this is what I was joking. It's been a extensive process.
Member Conway.
Thank you. I was just curious, was there any, I mean, I know in any process there's give and take, and you've got to figure out, you know, are we doing this, are we doing the right thing? But was there any opposition that was organized, or anyone objecting to the process?
We had some challenges, I think, with our union members initially. But I think as they started to understand how this would assist with expediting payments to our vendors quickly, how it would actually give us $350,000 that we could infuse back into the classroom. Once that was understood, then we had the support of our union teams. So other than that, no, we haven't met any real opposition.
I just had a question for the other colleges that are in the same situation. Is it that this is going to be coming forward more and more?
I think we've approved, I want to say, about 5 over the last 3 years. I think about 14 districts in the state right now currently have this independent status. Generally speaking, you're not going to see very small districts do this because they usually do not have the economy of scale and the resources available locally to do a lot of administrative services on their own. So they do want that assistance from the county. But many districts, such as Antelope Valley, will come to us because not getting the authority usually costs them more money because their local systems do not interface very well with the county. So by getting this authority, it does save them some costs.
Yeah, I was just thinking as a board, if we know of any in the future to try to, if it's the January problem, trying to get the extension, if there was any way that we can be more supportive in the future.
I'll entertain a motion to, on the recommendation. Is there a motion by Member Epstein to approve the recommendation? Is there a second? A second by Member Burdick. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the recommendation to authorize independent warrant authority for Antelope Valley Community College District, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Congratulations.
Thank you all.
Item 2.6, minimum qualifications for faculty administrators, additions and revisions on the disciplines list. Chancellor.
Thank you, President Baum, members of the board. Item 2.6, as President Baum said, it deals with amend quals for faculty and administrators, as well as additions and revisions to the discipline list. And so Vice Chancellor Walker will walk you through this one. Ma'am?
President Baum, Vice President Estolano, board members, and Chancellor Harris. This issue represents additions to the minimum qualifications of the disciplines list, which was the result of a 2-year introduction, review, and voting process by my colleagues from the statewide academic senate. In 1990, the disciplines list, as we changed to replace the formal credentialing system in California of minimum qualifications, you will hear something called the disciplines list, or MinQuals. And on a regular basis, discipline faculty recommend changes or additions to the list, and the academic senate facilitates hearings and voting on those changes, and then consults with the chancellor's office on the changes and additions. And then we present the recommended changes to the Board of Governors for review and approval. And just so you are aware, there are 2 proposed new changes this year. One of those changes is African American studies, and those typically be recommendations for instructors of credit courses with the possession of a master's degree. So you'll note that a master's degree is evident in that particular course or that particular discipline. For faculty assigned to teach courses and disciplines where a master's degree is not generally expected or available, there are a couple of different options. One of those is a related bachelor's or associate's degree in a generally expected or available field, a possession of a bachelor's degree in the discipline directly related to that faculty member's teaching assignment, plus 2 years of professional experience, or an associate's degree in the discipline with 6 years of a particular assignment. For those of us who are trying to find faculty over the years, we work off of this very significantly. So the supply chain technology addition is indicates any bachelor's degree or 2 years of professional experience or associate degree in supply chain technology, automated systems technician, mechatronics or discipline faculty, and 6 years of that professional experience. So I bring these 2 items to the Board of Governors for your review and approval.
Thank you. Are there any questions from members of the board? Member Belinsky.
Again, not questions, but just to call out the fact as shown in attachment A. There's a very rigorous process that the State Academic Senate uses, has been using since 1989, to every 2 years call forth faculty who, because of changes that are happening or new courses that are being entered into the curriculum, come forth and say, you know, we need to address this in terms of what are the qualifications we're going to hold a faculty member to. And if you ever go to a plenary session where they hold these hearings to get people's input, faculty input, general public input, the room is packed. I mean, people really take this very seriously. So this is a great addition, and I think it's helpful as some of the discipline areas are starting to break out from just using ethnic studies as the way of going about ethnic study curriculum, that once before we had the Chicana studies, and now we have African American studies, so it's quite good.
Can I take that
And
as a
I'd like
motion
to
to
move.
approve? Okay. And before we take comment from or question from Vice President Solano, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Member Hawkins. Vice President Estolano.
A really quick question, Vice Chancellor Walker. So I'm still trying to wrap my head around this process, but will we see then these types of reviews associated with the new four-year baccalaureate, because those are new fields that we're defining? So will we have to go through this process as well?
So, I think we may talk about this just a little bit later, but in all of the degrees for the baccalaureate, for the lecture courses, all of those degrees will have to, the minimum quals will be a master's degree.
Okay.
And the faculty have actually done some very rigorous work on this behalf as well. So you will see all of this as it transpires. This is a work in progress, but you could see one of two things. If, say, dental hygiene would have a lab course, you may see a bachelor's degree with appropriate years of experience or an AA for the laboratory course, but not for the lecture course.
Okay.
So we're gonna, it'll be pretty close to what we're seeing now.
So we may see some of these roll through over the next year associated with those, for those 15 new programs. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second on the table. Is there any other further discussion or questions? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes the action agenda. We've acted on all the items before the Board of Governors, and now we'll move into two items that we're taking on first reading. First is item 3.1, minimum qualifications for disabled students, programs, and services. This is a first reading and a public hearing. The Chancellor and staff will now provide information on the item. Chancellor.
Thank you, President Baum, members of the board. As President Baum said, there will be a public hearing on this item in just a moment. But first, I'd like to ask Denise Nolden and her colleague to present the item for the board's consideration. Denise?
Good afternoon, Board President Baum, Vice President Estolano, Chancellor Harris, and members of the board. We're here today to bring forward changes proposed to Title V, 53414, and they are to create minimum qualifications for a faculty learning disability specialist position and to amend the current minimum standard qualifications for a DSPS counselor position. And this is really part of the closure that we're bringing to the updating of the DSPS regulations that you saw earlier in the year, or last year, I should say. And basically, we want to clarify that we want and update the minimum qualifications for service for a DSPS counselor. And to not drill down to all the specifics, basically just to update them so that the minimum standards are in line with what's current in the field. And you have all of the detail here, but for the counselors, we're going to delete some things and add some things in terms of to satisfy the minimum qualifications for the counselor, and then to update other acceptable master's degrees to satisfy the minimum qualifications to serve as a DSPS counselor. Changes are proposed to the number of college units and the type of college units acceptable to satisfy the minimum qualifications to serve as a DSPS counselor. And these were vetted and reviewed by a work group and other folks who've been working for many years with the Chancellor's office in this area to help us to establish current minimum quals. The student population for DSPS also has grown exponentially since the regulation was initially established. And we said earlier in the year when we brought forth changes to update the regulation that we needed to also update the standards for the qualifications for the master's degree and the counseling position in the field. And also, the second part of the proposed change is to establish minimum quals to serve as faculty learning disability specialist. This particular classification serves the majority of the students that we serve in this system. And like the changes to the DSPS counselor MQs, this proposal has already been reviewed and vetted by the State Academic Senate and is primarily intended to address the current modern role of the learning disability specialist working in a community college. These reflect also some additions in terms of what is instructional as well as what the non-instructional role of the learning disability specialist. such tasks as test facilitation, test scoring, and evaluation and assessment of educational limitations and recommendations for accommodations. So we bring this forward to you for first reading today.
Thank you very much. I'm going to open the public hearing. The public hearing on item 3.1, the regulations regarding minimum qualifications for disabled students, programs, and services, is now open. The purpose of the hearing is for the Board of Governors to receive comments and testimony from members of the public regarding the proposed regulations. At this time, the floor is open for comments from the public. Vice
We have
President
no
Strong.
comment cards.
Are there any other addition, please?
Hi, Rhonda Moore from Student Services. We did receive one written comment that came in through the legal office. And it was regarding, we've taken off the master's degree in student personnel. I think the committee thought that that was probably not currently in existence, but the public comment was they think we should leave student personnel master's degrees in here. I think we're in agreement that it doesn't materially affect that, so I think that would be our recommendation, is that we add it back in since there was a concern with taking it out.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public who wish to address the board on this matter? We're going to take public comment, and then we'll ask for board clarification. Okay, hearing none, this public hearing is closed. This concludes the public hearing on the matter, but Vice Chancellor Nguyen, we can still entertain board comments or inquiries?
The answer is yes. You can entertain board comments for inquiry. Just also keep in mind that there's still a comment period where we may be receiving more public comments via writing. Staff will then put all of those comments together, make a recommendation, and the second iteration of the final read that you will get in March will incorporate that. So at least we're hearing a possibility of a change of the reg that you are seeing today.
Thank you. Member Epstein.
Yeah, I was just curious who the public comment was from that caused us to want to change our recommendation.
I apologize. It was from a DSPS professional, a DSPS counselor who holds a degree in student personnel. I'm sorry, I don't recall the name or the college they were from.
So there is a degree in student, there is some kind of a credential in student personnel
Right.
somewhere.
And many colleges still offer it, although many of them have changed to their reference to student development or something more current and contemporary. But
We've gathered all of the, when we've gathered all of the other public comments that might come in, we'll put that in writing for you.
Any other board inquiries? Member Belinsky.
Yeah, it's just a statement, again, not an inquiry per se. I'm glad that this is here. As many people know, when I began my career in the community college system in California, it was in DSPNS, and I was a DSPNS counselor for years. So I'm glad to see this has come to update and even add learning disability specialists, since we've had learning disability specialists in the field for years. And yet nothing here about minimum qualifications. We've even been doing training here at the State Chancellor's office, because learning disability specialists can only provide an assessment of learning disability. They can't actually, like a doctor, diagnose you and say you have a learning disability. I also want to point out the fact that these have not been updated in a long time. And one of the reasons these have not been updated in a long time is because they're in Title V, as opposed to the minimum qualification handbook that we just looked at for these other two disciplines. So there's a real difference of how these are handled. And from my point of view, that's problematic, because you don't give the field the sense that these are things that can be regularly looked at and updated given where things are going educationally or where things are going in DSPNS at the colleges. I walked up to someone who I know very well at one of the hearings that the Academic Senate conducted. Again, the room was packed when they did this DSPNS review. And I walked up to someone, I can't remember her name, and I said, why have we waited so long? And she said, because it's in Title V. Title V is hard to change. You have to go through this, you have to go through that, you have to go through all this kind of stuff. And she says, we just don't know how to do that and stay home and do our job. So at some point, I do think that we need to discuss why we're leaving some of these disciplines in Title V and not moving them to the handbook. Now, the handbook, again, has the same authority as Title V. We're going to see that said with this baccalaureate handbook. That's our next item. There's a statement there that the reason they wanted to go to a handbook, rather than put it in Title V, the next item we're going to get to, is because it's easier to update a handbook than it is to update Title V. So I'm glad to see these are here. I suspect come March these will be passed, Title V would be updated, but I really seriously think somehow we need to look at all, because we're only looking at DSPNS. There's also EOPS and a variety of other areas that are still in Title V. Now, there has been a willingness to move the language a little bit to the front of the minimum qualifications handbook, but that still doesn't change the fact that they're embedded in Title V. And I just want to point that out. Would like to know how we can have some kind of conversation or discussion about why we would even continue to do that and why we wouldn't put everything into a minimum qualifications handbook. And I'd like to be the one who moves this, given my background.
Thank you. Right now, we're doing the hearing, but Chancellor, did you want to respond?
Well, I obviously, those of us who have to wade through Title V and ask you to make these changes couldn't agree more. And we'd be more than happy to have a dialogue about taking some of the specificity in Title V and moving it to regulations, with the full understanding that there will be those who don't necessarily agree with that approach. So let us, over the next coming months, have that conversation through our consultation process. And assuming we can reach agreement there, we will look forward to bringing a possible recommendation back to the board at some point in the future. Yes, absolutely.
Thank you very much for bringing up those issues, and thank you for your work on this. I want to say a word on behalf of the board to Vice Chancellor Nolden for your service. We've been very lucky to have you in this role for the last just over a year, I believe, and I wanted to thank you. I'll always remember the transfer agreement that we inked with the HBCUs as a singular achievement among many. I think Member Khan had something he wanted to say as well.
I apologize. I just had a very brief question. Under sections C and D, I noticed that the inclusion of or equivalent foreign degree is there. However, underneath section A, it was omitted, meaning that you took out the equivalent foreign degree portion for counselors. But for speech, language, disability work, that is included, and for credit specialized instruction, foreign degree is still considered. What was the logic behind that? Is that going to be approached later, or?
I wasn't here when that conversation occurred, so I'm going to defer, and if Dean Moore does not know, we'll have to get back to you and tell you this was vetted in a couple of different places, and so it could have been at one or the other of those.
The specialist that was in charge of the work group has moved on to another position, and so I don't know the answer. Good points, though. I will certainly get the answer. Thank you.
Thank you. If you can report that back at the
Yes.
next board meeting. But again, Vice Chancellor Nolden, I sincerely appreciate everything you've done for the system, and we look forward to seeing you again, but wearing a different hat, I'm sure. Thank you very much. Now we move on to item 3.2, regulations authorizing the establishment of the baccalaureate degree pilot program handbook and this is a first reading and a public hearing. The Chancellor and the staff will now provide information on the item. Chancellor.
Thank you, President Baum, members of the board. I'm going to ask Pam to give you a background on this. I just would underscore what Member Belansky mentioned a moment ago. These are pilot projects, and so we are taking a slightly different approach than we normally would. Pam?
President Baum, Vice President Estolano, board members, Chancellor. In the good words of Chancellor Diane Van Hook, be flexible, innovative, and communicate what you're doing. So we're going to try to do this with the flexibility of this particular program as well. In light of starting a pilot program, everything has to change, everything. And so as we just spoke about the work of my colleagues in student services, how to get through Title V is significant. So to provide the 15 colleges we've been working with, the guidance as it relates to the requirements of Title V, we propose developing a handbook that contains the necessary changes to the Title V regulations, if that is the case, clarification of legal requirements, and I might thank my good colleague Thuy Nguyen and Jacob Knapp in her office for helping us through this process, as well as how we inform best practices. So the bachelor's degree handbook would incorporate all of that particular work. I will tell you that Board Member Belansky, in his incredible evil eye of articulation, got on this in a very few days, because we didn't give you many days to look at this. And I spoke with him this morning before lunch, and he really gave us some good insight and perspective on some of the dialogue that we might, as this develops, as this handbook develops. And I would share with you that this is an evolving document. And Jerry Griffin, who you know from many years, and Jackie Escajeda, who's the dean in our academic affairs, has been working with colleagues across the state. And just about 10 minutes ago, Lynn Nault from the San Diego district said, here are my edits in blue. So everybody is working on this as quickly as they can and as focused as they can as we develop this handbook. It is a handbook that is still under development, but a draft, of course, is here for your recommendation and for your perusal. And so this is a first reading, and I anticipate that we will just keep evolving in this process, but at the end of this, by the time we come to you in the next board meeting, we should have a very thoughtful process that people will be able to use for this first 15 colleges, and I would say to infinity and beyond, but we will continue to make those changes.
Thank you. Thank you, Vice Chancellor Walker. The public hearing on item 3.2, regulations authorizing the establishment of the baccalaureate degree pilot program handbook, is now open. The purpose of this hearing is for the Board of Governors to receive public comments and testimony from members of the public regarding the proposed regulations. At this time, the floor is open for comments from the public.
Mr. President, we have one comment from David Morris of the Academic Senate.
Okay, Mr. President, Chancellor, board members, in our November plenary session, the Academic Senate passed a number of resolutions regarding the bachelor's degree pilot and establishing parameters in areas such as general education requirements, defining upper division coursework, minimum qualifications, and other issues in order to set reasonable parameters for the bachelor's degrees that will ensure the quality and integrity of these degrees while still leaving as much flexibility for the pilot colleges to work and develop the degrees as is possible. So we have worked very closely with the Chancellor's office, and the document before you is based largely and directly on those resolutions that we passed. So I want to thank Vice Chancellor Walker and her staff for having worked very closely with us to put this document together. and for respecting the voice of the faculty and putting those parameters together. And we look forward to continuing to put together the final version to bring forward next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have no further requests for comments.
Are there any additional members of the public who would like to speak on this matter? Hearing none, this public hearing is closed. This concludes the public hearing on this matter. Are there any other board member questions or comments?
I do have a question.
Member Avalos.
So, is there any restriction on, like, for example, if a applicant already has a degree, they have a 4-year bachelor's degree, do we still want that person to be part of this pilot?
So if a person has a bachelor's degree now and needs to come back to one of our colleges to retrain or do something different in their evolving life, we open the opportunity for them as well. So as we develop these particular programs, my assessment is that colleges will look very keenly at individuals who might have a degree in technology, but want to transfer that degree into in that health management system. So we may see some of that. That would not be a surprise to me.
Okay. So what I'm concerned about is just accessibility to our community college students that we have now, who don't have the option to go get a 4-year degree directly, right? And so, are we limiting, there's a limited amount of space, and are we taking those spaces away from the rest of the student population that otherwise wouldn't have that access to a 4-year degree?
I couldn't agree with you more, and I think that as we develop our ongoing assessments of these programs, we may see that we have not wanted to limit, and I don't think anyone wants to limit, it's still open access, but we might have some additional variations on how we do the rubric and entry. But here's an interesting point. At West LA for the dental hygiene program, they had 870 individuals interested in that program for 30 slots. Okay. So the minute we open this up, it's going to be so significant. And so I think we may have to come back in a couple of 3 years and take another deep look. But getting started, we're doing everything we can to follow the mechanism that we have in our community college system, which is still open access, but there may be some additional data points that we can look at along the way for admissions.
I think the Chancellor had something he wanted to say, then Member Belinsky.
Well, I think it's a really good question. I would point out to the board that that we often have people who have completed a bachelor's degree in a variety of fields and are unable to find employment, and so come back to our colleges for CTE programming for at the associate degree level. So it would be quite common to have, as you point out, Member Avalos, someone who's completed a bachelor's degree in history, realizes he or she can't find work, and so wants to come back and get a bachelor's degree in dental hygiene through one of our colleges.
Member Belinsky.
I was going to say something similar to what the Chancellor just said, that we have to remind ourselves that the 15 pilot programs are essentially in career technical education. And that was one of the methods, if I'm correct, that we used to make sure that we were not duplicating degrees in the CSU system and to get full support from the CSU. So as the Chancellor said, we always have students, because I work in student services, who they can't get a job that pays enough. And so they're coming back to the community college to get a different degree and more or less in a career technical education field in order to get the skills they need and often a certification, licensing to go out and get a really good job in order to support family and children. And we see that a lot. That I see even at our college. The only other comment I wanted to make is instead of going down my list of things that I decided I would just send to Vice Chancellor Walker, saying, could we get more clarification? Could we say more? Rather than running down this in the meeting, I'm hoping it's acceptable that I could keep in touch with her and with Dean Escajeda and Jerry in terms of just raising my questions. And I'll just point out one. I think, as an example, there's prior learning assessment in this regulation, and I do think that there might be something at the U.S. Department of Education in terms of, and I don't want to go through it right here, but just as a reason to find out more so that in case we have to say more. But I hope that's okay.
Thank you, Member Khan.
I want to thank you for bringing this forward. It really is a great step forward considering that this is such a brave idea for baccalaureate degrees to be offered through our system. I did just want to raise the question for revisions that will be made to the handbook, say it is implemented in the future. What is the oversight or provision that will allow revisions to be made, considering it won't be done directly through Title V if this works? That may be too forward. Sorry.
Flexible, innovative, and communicative. Good point. We'll continue to try to find our definition, looking at my legal colleague behind me, that we don't create something that we all can't live with, both in an innovative way, but also legally. So that's a very good point, and I'll write it down. Thank you.
Well, thank you, and thank you for the board comments. That concludes the hearing. And if
Actually, I want to go back to my original point. So one of the things I want to, and I don't know if the board, what you all think, but I don't want, to advantage students that have a four-year degree, a four-year bachelor's already in the process, right? Because ultimately, the access that I worry about for the community college students that are already in the system to not have the same opportunity in terms of competitiveness because they lack this or lack that. That's what I worry about. When you open the door to anyone, and these thoughts are very limited, that, if it's a competitive process, I don't want to advantage these four-year degreed, bachelor already folks over the community college students that don't have it, right? So just, and I don't know if I'm the only one speaking about this, but I think it's really important because the original intent was to really provide access and opportunity. And if we're advantaging others because they already have the degree, then I don't think that's the original intent.
Chancellor, did you?
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point, and I would want to remind all the board that we do have impacted programs. Nursing is a perfect example, and we do have a number of students who come to us with the baccalaureate who, again, can't get work and want to become a nurse. And that open access requires that nobody is advantaged by the bachelor's degree. And in fact, in the case of nursing, most of our colleges will have a lottery that once the students have met their prerequisites, they literally have to go into a lottery in order to get those seats. So your point is well made, and I wouldn't want anything any of us have said to suggest that simply because students have a baccalaureate, they'd have an easier pathway into these programs, because that would not be the case.
And I just want to say from where I sit too, I want to echo your comments only about the access. The biggest tragedy that I witnessed in my period on the Board of Governors was when we were forced to ration education, and that we documented that there was a loss of access for a couple of 100,000 high school students that did not have room at the colleges when they were getting out of school, and that was, and we could never account for whatever happened to those students that were in the pipeline, but then were not able to access education at the community college level. That's why we changed the whole process through the Student Success Task Force to recalibrate the priority system for access to students such as that. Member Sumner.
I was just going to say, from veteran perspective, I mean, I know we're not talking about showing favoritism towards veterans or anything like that, but we're already having challenges with getting veterans credit for what their credit they should get for their experience and their expertise. And so as we go forward with this, this may benefit or it could hinder. So as far as them getting credits, because they're already not getting credits where they should be getting credits to go into college. So I'm hoping that maybe they'll benefit them, and then maybe some of the veterans will get some advantages in this program too, because I'd love to see to keep it in the community college system, to watch our students go forward, to really get an analysis, to have, where we can have that following them, because right now people go to school, they leave, we don't know where they go. Where this group of people, we can say, hey, we want you to really be this core group so we can make California better for community colleges, for the bachelor's program. And I mean, we can't show favoritism because the universities are already letting us in, but it would just be nice to have some sort of a core group of different Title V, veterans or different people that we can sort of watch and, just have that be a part of it. So.
Thank you very much, Vice Chancellor. Okay, I'm going to take the opportunity. It's 1:14. We're going to break till 1:20. This will be a hard start again. We've concluded our first readings, and we'll pick up on information and reports.